Plasma is so violent that it's not really melting your armor or your body anymore like lava. It can change the atomic structure of the object it touches, going as far as forming completely new molecules from the original one. Ions in general, regardless of being a cation or an anion, want nothing more than to return to a state of equilibrium. But it's so desperate to get back to a state of normality that it will mutually agree with other atoms or subatomic particles to just become something entirely different. That means when it hits a marine's body armor, that plasma is ripping apart the atomic lattice of the titanium that makes up the marine's body armor. It violently tears off electrons and destabilizes the titanium's atoms, turning that body armor into titanium-based plasma. So that means that what was originally designed to protect your body is now dismantling you on a molecular level. Isn't that just great? But like I mentioned earlier, there's multiple compounding effects. One of them is simply caused by the plasma bolt just existing and flying at you with malicious intent. In the atmosphere, specifically one that can sustain human beings, hopefully you know that it is made up of two chemical compounds for the most part, N2 and O2. When you have a plasma bolt that is screaming at you at FU speeds, we tend to forget a lot of things. And one of those things that you're definitely not really thinking about is that there's a very real atmosphere that is filled with N2 and O2 molecules between you and dying. Unfortunately, you're probably still going to die because there's not really enough atmosphere to stop really anything, but to add insult to injury, that plasma bolt just split all of those N2 and O2s into hot singles, and those hot singles are floating around the atmosphere ready to mingle. Sometimes they manage to find another identical pair, and they live happily ever after, but unfortunately, just like our parents, their ideal pair is just a distant dream, and they just want to feel a sense of stability, so they just find the next best thing and just settle. Because atoms are also social creatures, and they are some clingy bastards, and generally, they don't like being unattached from other atoms. That's why me and you exist, because atoms don't like being alone. But just like our actual love lives, when an atom settles, it doesn't really care if it's toxic or not, so you end up getting things like nitrogen dioxide or oxygen 3, which is the ozone, and none of those are particularly very good for you to breathe in. Matter of fact, they are actually quite lethal to be breathing in. Isn't it funny that you can even see toxic attraction down on a subatomic level? And depending on the density of the atoms in question, like for example tungsten, they are even clingier. Tungsten atoms will go absolutely apeshit if it is left alone, and will physically abduct oxygen atoms and create warrant officer 3s, also known as tungsten oxide, just to feel a sense of stability that it had living in a solid chunk of tungsten where they were deeply interwoven through each other and had so much care and love.